All right, let's talk about something. It's a really strange feeling that you've probably had before, but maybe you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was. Just think about it for a second. You see a friend, they get a paper cut, and for just a split second, you feel this phantom sting in your own hand. It's so bizarre, right? It's one of those things you just shake off and forget about. Or hey, maybe for you, it's less about the physical and more emotional. You ever walk into a meeting and before a single word is said, you can just feel the tension in the air? Or on the flip side, you walk into a party and you're immediately hit with this wave of joy and energy. If any of that sounds familiar, then you are definitely in the right place.
Okay, so let's get into it, because what you're feeling isn't just you being extra sensitive or too emotional. No, this thing actually has a name, and it's way more than what we usually mean when we talk about empathy. Here it is. The official term is mirror touch empathy, and it's a recognized neurological trait. It basically means that when you see someone else being touched or feeling something, your brain fires in a way that makes you feel a version of that same sensation on your own body. It's like a literal, physical echo.
And this is the really crucial part. This is not you just imagining things. It's not all in your head. It's actually part of your brain's fundamental wiring. It's a very real biological process that's happening.
So how does that even work? I mean, what is going on inside our brains that lets us literally feel what someone else is feeling? Let's get into the science of it.
Well, this whole incredible mechanism comes down to a special kind of brain cell. They're called mirror neurons. Honestly, these things are the stars of the show today. They're pretty much the brain's built-in hardware for empathy.
And the process itself is surprisingly straightforward. So first, you just observe something. You see someone smile, or you see them wince in pain. Step 2, your mirror neurons instantly kick into gear, firing as if you were the one doing the smiling or feeling the pain. And then finally, you experience a little shadow of that same feeling yourself. It's this automatic, instantaneous loop. This quote really just nails the whole thing. For people who have strong mirror touch empathy, that line between their feeling and my feeling gets incredibly blurry. Your brain doesn't just process the emotion, it actually simulates it.
But here's the thing. This ability, it isn't just some cool superpower for connecting with people. It can be a really heavy burden. I mean, constantly feeling the world around you so intensely, it can be absolutely exhausting. And this is where you can really see the difference. Regular empathy is more cognitive. It's understanding from a bit of a distance. It's saying, I see you're sad and I can understand why. But mirror touch empathy, that's experiential. It's a direct physical or emotional simulation, a neurological echo. It's the difference between reading the notes on a page of sheet music and actually hearing the song playing inside your own head. So what happens is, this constant simulation can lead to something that scientists call emotional contagion. It's kind of like catching a mood the same way you'd catch a cold. If you're surrounded by anxious people, you start to feel anxious. If you're in a happy crowd, you start to feel happy. And sometimes you don't even know why. All of this stuff together creates what experts call the empathic load. Think about it like this. Every single day, you've got your own emotional backpack to carry around, right? But if you have mirror touch empathy, you're also constantly picking up little bits and pieces from everyone else's backpacks and adding them to your own. So it's really no wonder it can feel so overwhelming sometimes.
So let's bring this all home. If you've ever felt totally drained after being in a social situation or just completely overwhelmed by watching the news, it is so important to understand that your experience is real. It has a real basis in how your brain is built. Okay, so let's just quickly recap the big points. That intense feeling you get, it has a name, mirror touch empathy. It is a real trait, and it's all thanks to your brain's mirror neurons. And that bone-deep exhaustion you feel, that's not a weakness. That's the result of a very real thing called empathic load. The bottom line is your sensitivity has a scientific explanation. And just knowing that, well, that's the most powerful first step you can take. Look, giving this a name doesn't magically make it disappear. But what it does do is give you power. It changes you from someone who's just sort of passively getting hit by all these feelings to someone who actually understands the mechanism behind it all. It's the first step to being able to set boundaries, to learn how to navigate a world that you feel so deeply. So the real question is, now that you have this understanding, what's your next move going to be?